Good morning. Yes, we're live and ready for your calls. Can you help bring some bad guys to justice? The pensioner who paid a heavy price just for being a good citizen.
Did you do that at all?
I was just trying to do my bit. What I thought was right, obviously. It wasn't right.
And I'll be finding out what police are doing to cut the number of serious traffic accidents involving mobility scooters like these.
You're watching Crimewatch Roadshow. Welcome to Crimewatch Roadshow. All this month we're live, travelling the length of the UK, asking for your help to catch crooks. Also, on today's programme, the doorstep con man who tricked his way into an elderly woman's home.
It dawned on me when they were going downstairs, you know, that they see me purse at the hall, it's somebody who shouldn't be here.
And we're with the domestic abuse team, tackling the crimes that go on behind closed doors.
He turned up at his ex-partner's house wielding a machete. He has punched her on the head.
Today it's our last day with South Yorkshire Police and Sean is in Rotherham.
Rav, this is an impressive place. It's got houses, gardens, a park, streets, even alleyways. But it's not real. It's a learning centre used mostly by older people. So today we're looking at crimes against the elderly, how we can protect ourselves and our loved ones.
Thank you, Sean. But first, what would you do if you saw something that you didn't think was right? One Doncaster pensioner who chose to speak out suffered serious injuries as a result.
It's emergency.
I've just been attacked. There's two lads. Oh.
Hello? Hello?
Lionel Overson is 70 years old. He enjoys a night out with friends at the local working men's club. He's been a member here for more than 40 years.
I try to get in twice a week, depending on the mood, what mood I'm in.
One evening last March, Lionel said goodbye to his friends just after 10 and started making his way home. It was just a 5-minute walk from the club to Lionel's home. A journey he'd made hundreds of times.
As I got to near to what we call the back ends of Palmer Street and Childer Street, I saw two ewes.
Lionel saw the two lads urinating against his friend's newly built wall.
And I just happened to say to them, "Come on, lads, respect people's property."
Did you do that at all?
Push off.
I said, "Oh, go on, lads, go home," or something to that effect, and I kept on walking.
Lionel carried on walking home. But both men decided to follow him. And just yards from Lionel's house, the first one caught up with him.
This bull goes straight into my back.
A second kick sent Lionel flying to the ground.
So it jumped on top of me, just raining punch after punch after punch after me, and I just couldn't defend myself.
The second man then dragged his mate away.
I said to him, this guy, I said, "Are you happy?" Hitting a 70-year-old man. He says, "I don't care."
The man attacked again, but this time the brave pensioner fought back, punching him directly in the face.
Unfortunately, it triggered him off and he started again on me. Managed to get hold of his leg, and I'm trying to pull his leg. That's the only thing I could get.
Eventually, the attacker's friend pulled him away once more and the pair ran off, leaving Lionel badly beaten and in terrible pain.
I've never encountered anything like it in my life.
Police emergency.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Please. I'm just been attacked at the top of Silver Street.
Right,
Oh.
I've got police officers coming out to you, Lionel.
Yeah, I'm just in the right kitchen.
Lionel managed to sit up and slowly dragged himself towards his home, just a few doors away.
My nose took a good beating, my temples, fractured my teeth, badly bruised ribs, which I'm still suffering now. I'm suffering mentally.
Lionel paid a heavy price for being a good citizen.
I was just trying to do my bit, what I thought was right. Obviously, it wasn't right. Now I go out, I don't look at people, I'm not looking over my shoulder. Now I'm just trying to get life back together.
Well, with me now is PC Paul France. And Paul, this attack on Lionel took place just metres from his own front door.
It is. It's on Childers Street in Doncaster, which is just off the Carhouse Road area. It's quite a busy dual carriageway, and there must have been quite a few people about at that time, and I'd be very interested to speak to anyone who's seen this incident.
Now, it was one man who attacked him. Let's focus on him for the moment. Tell me what you know about him.
Well, the man we're interested in speaking to is described as being 6 foot in height, of slim build, possibly Eastern European, but we're not ruling out any other nationalities at this stage. He was wearing a white top, which is of particular interest because he sustained a nosebleed during the assault. So he may have arrived home covered in blood, and there is forensic evidence linking him to the scene.
And we saw there in the film he was with a friend who dragged him off Lionel. You want to trace him as well, don't you?
Yes, I'd very much like to speak to him also. He's described as being slightly short at 5'8" in height, of a rounder face and of a chubbier build. And,
OK, I know it's vital. You really want to crack this one. Thank you very much. If you can help with us, please do get in touch on the usual numbers.
Now we need you to help us solve some more crimes caught on CCTV. And just to warn you, the first one is pretty nasty.
Trouble's brewing in a North London pub. A heated conversation turns ugly when one man swings at the guy in the white jumper. Thankfully, all that's spilt is a pint. But minutes later, tempers flare again between the same men outside the pub. Police say the victim, circled in red, walks off screen, where he's punched and collapses to the ground, fracturing his skull. Detectives believe he was attacked by the same man in the green T-shirt. He's white, aged 25 to 30, with a bald or shaven head, and was speaking Polish. Think you know him? Then do us a favour and get in touch. Check out this hot hatchback pulling into a petrol station on the A38 in Staffordshire in February this year. Fact is, it's hotter than you might think. Police say this is the moment, 40 minutes earlier, when the 14-plate Audi A1 was nicked from a driveway in the Bilston area of Wolverhampton. It's thought the thief used a pole to reach through a letterbox and hook the car keys. Back at the garage, the driver's in no hurry. He even has a drink while he fills up. But does he pay for the petrol? Does he, heck? You know what to do. Can you name this quick-fingered crook who shortchanges shops all at Peterborough railway station? He pays for a can of pop with a £20 note and gets back a tenner, a fiver and some coins. But he quickly pockets the tenner and tells the assistant he's been shortchanged. She believes him and gives him another tenner. How cheeky is that? He's at it again the same day, this time in a station cafe. And there goes the tenner in his coat pocket. A day later, he hits the coffee shop and, surprise, surprise, uses the same trick to get another tenner. This copycat thief must have a thirst for dosh, because he's at it again and again, 2 weeks later. Let's blow the whistle on this train station trickster.
So if those faces ring a bell with you, we need you to tell us who they are. Pick up the phone and call us on 08000 468 999. Calls are free from most landlines, but some network and mobile operators will charge. You can text us to 63399, text CW, space and then your message. Text will be charged at your standard message rate. Of course, you can also email us the address cwr@bbc.co.uk. Now, let's see what Sian's up to.
Well, here at this centre, one of the things that they do is help people learn how to ride mobility scooters. And it can be a really serious issue because there have been a number of accidents. Let's find out how some of them are doing. Doug, how's it going?
Fine, it's very tricky at first. It's the first time I've been in one. You need to get lessons, and Parkgate do a very good service, and it's made my life a lot easier.
OK, well, I'm glad that you're getting to grips with it. Of course, these scooters come in all shapes and sizes. But the one thing that they have in common is that you don't have to pass a test to actually ride one. And that is something that can be concerning to the police because there have been a number of incidents. Last year, a man had to be rescued from going up the M1 motorway the wrong way. Now, luckily, he wasn't injured, but there have been 5 fatalities in this area and also some nasty injuries. A 93-year-old had to have his leg amputated after being in a collision on a scooter with a lorry. And Marion, you've also been hurt in an accident that involved a scooter running into you.
Yes, it was last year. I was walking along Borby Road and I moved out slightly to the right, didn't even think about looking behind me, and I didn't hear anything. And it was too late. The scooter it was speeding, it went straight into my ankle. I was lucky there was a couple that came to help me. I was taken to hospital and I ended up having a fractured ankle.
Oh, that must have had a terrible impact on you.
Yes, and it did have a very bad impact on me. I was on crutches for at least 3 months, and to this day I still have problems. OK,
well, I'm glad to see that you're back on your feet
you.
now. Tracy, I know that you're involved with teaching people here. Why is that so important?
Well, we've got an ageing population. There's a lot more scooters out there than there's ever been. We got a call from South Yorkshire Police who had reported they're going out to a lot more collisions. We deal with insurance companies as well, and we're getting reports of a lot of collisions because we repair this equipment. So there's a lot of accidents happening out there, and we want to make sure people are safe.
And you wanted a change in the law?
That's right, yeah, we've been campaigning. We went down to London to Minister of Transport and we're campaigning for compulsory insurance on the larger class 3 8-mile-an-hour machines, and also basic training.
Which we're seeing here today. Tracy,
right,
thanks ever so much.
Okay.
Well, Rav, they're not letting me loose on one of those this time.
Probably for the best, Sian. Still to come on this morning's programme. Beating the bullies. We're out with police in Doncaster, cracking down on domestic abusers.
Nobody ever knows what's going on behind closed doors. That's how I liked it to be. I didn't want people to know because I were ashamed.
And I'll be testing my powers of observation, creating an e-fit using the latest technology. But just how good will it be? But first, a heartless but very common type of crime. Distraction burglaries affect many thousands of older people every year. And Betty here is a typical victim.
88-year-old Betty Burns has lived in her Sheffield home almost all her life.
I think everybody's trusted. Because I am, yeah, I think they are.
But that trusting nature made her an easy target for a doorstep con man.
I just think they're nasty people.
You could say that they're probably the worst of the worst.
It was a sunny March afternoon. Betty was in her front garden, enjoying the company of those passing by.
People often go on here and just smile to say hello, you know, when they're going on.
But as Betty tended to her garden, one particular stranger approached.
It was right friendly. He was talking, saying how long you've been up here. You've been up for a long time, haven't you?
The man led Betty to believe he was from the council. He was offering free window locks, and Betty was tempted.
He said, you've got to pay £30 now, but you'll get it back because you're a pensioner.
Betty allowed the man into her home. Once inside, she went to fetch her purse.
The purse was behind the settee, so she got the money out, she gave it to the man.
Thank you. All right.
And she put her purse back.
The man then explained he needed to measure up the windows.
And he says, can I go upstairs? He says, which is your bedroom?
Okay. But as they got into her bedroom, the con man made his move.
Can you bear with me for 2 minutes?
And then he says, I'll just go and fetch my tape measure.
Suddenly, the man sprinted down the stairs, leaving Betty confused.
It dawned on me when they were going downstairs, you know, that they see me purse. That, oh, it's somebody who shouldn't be here.
He ran into the living room, helping himself to Betty's purse from behind the sofa.
And then by the time I come downstairs, he's gone. Well, he was a lot quicker than me.
Betty headed outside.
And they looked both sides, but no. And there was nobody knocking about at all.
The thief stole more than £200 from Betty that day.
Well, I was angry with myself because I shouldn't have let him in, should I?
My mum's quite a strong character, and to be quite honest, if it made my mum cry, then I think she would have been very frightened. It's hard for people living by themselves.
Distraction burglaries like Betty's come in various forms, but always leave a lasting impression on their victims.
It can affect them in many different ways. Some can have quite a lasting effect where they're very scared to live in their own homes, and in certain circumstances have had to move home to be somewhere where they feel more safe.
So what do we know about this particular burglar?
Betty describes the man as a white man. He's about 5'6" tall. He's of quite a chubby build, she says, with a fairly large protruding stomach. He was wearing dark clothing and possibly a worker-style jacket. And he had brown comb-back hair. Based on what Betty was saying, the male possibly left on foot, heading towards the water tower on Norton Lane. So anybody that was out around Norton Lane around the afternoon of Wednesday, the 25th of March, please give us a call if you saw anything.
For Betty, it's important that the man who conned her is caught before he targets someone else.
I don't trust people. I think because I'm honest, they are, but they're not, are they?
Well, at this centre, they're trying to combat distraction burglary through education, and all of us here are going to get a glimpse at how doorstep crime can operate. Janet, you kindly agreed to be our guinea pig. That's fantastic news. Andy, you're the trainer usually. You're going to be the con man today. I'm going to let you get on with it, and I will hop in when we've got something to talk about.
Okay. Hello, love, from Waterboard. You've seen us working up the road, haven't you?
I've seen something.
Yeah, we've got a collapsed drain. Can you do us a favour? Can you go to your bathroom and turn both taps on for me?
Yeah.
If the water runs green, give us a shout. I'll wait here.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Let me stop you there, Andy. No, she shouldn't have done that, should she? You shouldn't have been allowed in.
Absolutely not. The worst mistake Janet made, the first mistake, was opening the door to a complete stranger. Open a window, ask who they are. The thing is, waterboards do not exist. Anybody saying they're from the waterboard, please refuse them entry.
OK, and of course, perhaps put the chain on the door, ask for ID. I'll let you get on with it. Right, so you would have got away with it in this case, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. Janet's made the second mistake of keeping a large amount of money in a house. She's also left a bank card with a PIN number written down and I've got a car keys, a mobile phone and a handbag as well.
OK, well, some valuable lessons there. Let's see what the audience thought of it all. I mean, the scene there unfolding could be quite typical. I mean, how important do you think this message is to get across?
I think it's important, the speed that that someone can just go through property and just collect things and get away with it. You know, the speed of it is just amazing. You know.
Had you seen anything like this before? I mean, what do you make of it?
Well, I wouldn't have dreamt of thinking there was anything wrong with what Janet did. I would have done exactly the same. I think when people come to the house, you just take them on trust. You don't think they're going to try and con you or rob you.
No, absolutely. That is something that comes across. People are very trusting, and that's something, isn't it, Andy, that you know all about, how trusting older people can be. I mean, you've heard lots of different types of scenarios. And
Yeah, there are many guises people come to the door in. The two favourite methods to gain access into a vulnerable person's home is either water-related or property repair or maintenance. So the thing is, please don't open your door. At the very minimum, put a chain on. All utility companies run password schemes. Contact the utility company if you feel you need a password. And the other thing is, don't trust the ID, because the phone number on the ID could be false. So take the ID through the letterbox or the window, close the door and ring the company from the phone book.
that is really good advice. I hadn't thought about that when actually checking up on that ID. Don't take it on face value. Very important point there, Rav.
Thank you, Sian. Time now for a quick appeal. Now, this incident happened in the centre of Cardiff in November of last year, and it was caught on CCTV. Now, we can see these lads are walking through the city after a night out, but check out the two men who walk past them just now. Maybe some words are exchanged, because a few seconds later, one of the lads doubles back and starts talking to the men. Now, his mate follows soon after, but it doesn't end in a friendly way. Just off screen, there's a scuffle between the four guys, but watch now and you'll see one of them fly past the top of your screen there. Then the two men Scarpa, as a witness, makes his way over. Now, the victim suffered a broken jaw and was knocked unconscious. Police believe these two men were involved and want to speak to them. These images were taken earlier that evening in a nightclub, and they're really clear, as you can see, and police say the moustache on the man on the right-hand side could actually be a temporary one. So do you know who they are? Call us if you recognise them.
Last year, nearly 1.5 million women in the UK were the victims of domestic abuse. It's a huge and often hidden problem, but one that South Yorkshire Police say they're determined to tackle. Every week, 2 women in England and Wales are killed by their current or ex-partner.
Nobody ever knows what's going on behind closed doors. That's how I liked it to be. I didn't want people to know because I were ashamed.
Thousands more are attacked, beaten and humiliated by the person who's supposed to love them.
I thought that I were going to die.
But now South Yorkshire Police say they're tackling those who target the vulnerable.
Well, I've been a police officer for 25 years, and through that time I really have seen the damage that domestic abuse can cause and the wake it leaves behind it.
At Doncaster's Central Police Station, Natalie has gathered her team for a day of action, targeting domestic abusers.
From a policing point of view, that's what you join the police for, isn't it? To protect people. And this is a way of protecting some of our most vulnerable.
But the police now have an additional legal tool at their disposal.
What we can do is we can go to the court and apply for an order, and if the judge should see fit, they can grant that order for 28 days, which gives the time for services and the partnership to get in and work with the victim and to give them the different opportunities and possibly go down the civil route and getting a notice to prevent the perpetrator returning to the address again.
He's breached his bail. He's on bail for assault.
Sergeant Stuart Rouse is leading a team of officers who deal with domestic violence offenders daily. Their job is to track down, detain and prosecute those who threatened or assaulted their current or former partners.
Looking for a guy who's breached his bail. He's currently on bail for assaulting his partner, and he's breached his bail by contacting family members. He's assaulted his partner once, so we don't know what else we might find when we find him.
Police have received a complaint from the former partner of Polish man Krzysztof Pastula. his new partner answers the door, and it appears the man they're looking for is at home.
Slight language barrier with the family being Polish, but eventually we've gained entry. He's been in bed, and we've been able to arrest him for breaching of his bail without any problems at all.
Krzysztof Pastula was convicted of breaching his bail and was given a community order and a 12-month restraining order. This is Emma. She's a survivor of domestic abuse, and her story will resonate with thousands of women across the country.
I met my partner in 2011. Normal relationship to start with, happy, fell in love, doing everything that a normal couple would, and then slowly things started to change.
The man Emma loved started abusing her, both physically and mentally.
Not being allowed to text certain friends, ring people, feeling a bit segregated from my family. It was just me and him and my little girl.
But like many abused women, she found it too difficult to break away from the relationship.
I were in love and I wanted to be with him. He promised me that he'd get help, that it wouldn't happen again, and I believed him, foolishly.
But forgiving him almost cost Emma her life.
First thing I knew, I was getting dragged about by my hair. All the time it were happening, all I could think is, my little girl's in there. And all I were focusing on is her screams and thinking that I had to keep my eyes open. I had to stay awake for her. Sorry.
Emma suffered serious injuries from this attack.
Looking in the mirror, I was like, I didn't recognise myself at all, and my daughter wouldn't come near me.
The level of violence was so vicious, so extreme. I think the people who knew him were really shocked by what he'd done as well. Fortunately, he's been arrested and prosecuted, and he's now serving a sentence for that.
Back on the road, Sergeant Stuart Rouse and his team are looking for a man with a history of violence.
He's turned up at his ex-partner's house wielding a machete. He's not used that in an assault, but he has punched her on the head.
They cover the front and rear of the property, so the man can't make a run for it.
Dean, open the door, please. Yeah.
Then news comes in of some movement from the front of the house.
Door open.
The man lets the police inside, but he's not happy. His ex-partner has claimed he threatened her with a machete, but he denies that any assault or threat took place. Although this samurai sword is found at the property, the case was later dismissed by the court because of the lack of evidence. South Yorkshire police say they're determined to carry on tackling domestic abuse. And victims like Emma believe they are benefiting from this hard-line approach.
I know that from how fantastic police were and all other services that I were offered in Doncaster, that we'll be all right. They'll make sure that we're safe and that everything's in place, which is very, very reassuring.
Such important work there, and if you need any help, there are links on our website to charities working with female and male victims. Now, let's take a look at today's wanted faces. And first up is this guy. This is Sayamak Derekshan, who goes by the nickname Mac. He's wanted by the Met Police for questioning after a nasty attack where the victim was stabbed 3 times in the leg. Derekshan has links to West London and the Middle East, and he obviously likes a tattoo or two. His include a fish on his right arm, Scuff RIP on his left arm, and a playing card diamond symbol on his wrist. Or can you help police in Manchester find this man? This is Josh Buxton. They want to question him after a shop burglary where the entire till was carried off. Buxton is 25 years old and has connections in the Heaton Norris and Reddish areas of Stockport. Up next is this man. This is Kevin Sharkey. If you're in North London or Hertfordshire, keep an eye out for him. Police want to speak to him after 2 brutal assaults. 41-year-old Sharkey has links to the security industry and speaks with a Scottish accent. And finally, We end the week with this man. This is Lewis Okai. Police in Bedfordshire want to question him after a large amount of heroin and cocaine were left in a Luton hotel room. As well as the Luton area, Okai has links to Middlesex. He's got a tattoo on his right arm which reads Tyrone R.I.P. So, if one of those is a familiar face to you, make sure you pick up the phone. You can call us on 08000 468 999 or send us a text on 63399. If you prefer, email us. The address cwr@bbc.co.uk. Now, Sian needs your help to track down a violent couple in Rotherham.
Yes, Rav, this attack on a vulnerable 93-year-old pensioner took place not far from here. And DC Gemma Crossland's with me now. Gemma, tell us what happened.
On Saturday the 8th of February 2014 at around 7:15 in the evening, Joan was at home on her own in a flat. There was a knock at her door, and when she's answered, a man and a woman barged into her flat saying, "We're the police." And the man grabbed her by the wrists, forced her down into a chair, holding tightly. She told them she knew they weren't the police, shouted for help. They've searched the address and stolen £400.
Shocking, this to a 93-year-old woman, and Joan was injured, wasn't she?
Yeah, that's right. Understandably, her skin was incredibly delicate. She had severe bruising to her arms and ankles, and she still bears the scars where the man dug his nails into her delicate skin.
Terrible. You do have an e-fit, though, of the man you're looking for.
Yeah, that's right. He's a white male, aged in his 50s, about 5'10" tall, stocky build with a round face and a thick grey moustache. He spoke with a local accent and wore a blue anorak.
And you've got some CCTV footage of the car you're interested in knowing more about.
Yeah, it's some kind of people carrier, possibly similar to a Citroën Picasso. We'd like to speak to the owner of that vehicle and a pedestrian that's walking past nearby. OK,
let's hope someone can help. And if you want to remain anonymous when you give information, you can ring Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111.
Now, we saw an e-fit in that last appeal, and they're obviously a very useful tool for police, but maybe you've wondered how they're actually put together and how much they really resemble a suspect. Well, we'll see me putting my own observational skills to the test in a moment, but first, let's talk to DC Steve Lewis from the Met Police. Morning, Steve.
Morning.
Now, I used e-fits from my time in the police a few years ago, but even in that relatively short time, they've evolved somewhat. So tell us the story about how they've come along over the years.
Pretty much, they started around the early 1940s, where they had something called Identikit, and that was pre-drawn sketches which they would splice together to make a composite image. It's something very similar to this one that we've got here, where they'd have different layers that they put together.
Right, so what we can see there, you've got obviously the hairline there, but these eyes, I hope you can see that, are actually physically put in, and they would be slid across until you saw a set of eyes that would be as close as possible to the offender that you're trying to describe. It was something, it wasn't great.
Yeah.
So it advanced from there. What was the next step?
This then advanced to photo fit, which was then photographs of people, as we can see here.
So we can see that. So again, it's looking more lifelike, more like an actual person. It's still got a way to go, and that had some success, I'm sure. But it was evolved again from there. So what was the next thing?
It then evolves into eFit-V, which is what we use now, which is more computerised.
And we can see a computerised image there. I mean, that straight away looks significantly more lifelike than anything else that we'd seen so far. And that really did almost transform it, didn't it, Steve, when we got to that stage?
Yeah, because we can sort of like pinpoint more accurately slight little differences that will be on the person's face, or, you know, more features rather than just having a couple of eyes and noses. We can go into very, very advanced detail with an eFit.
And that's exactly what we did with my own demonstration.
So
we did, I was shown an image yesterday of a staff member that I have worked with here on Crimewatch Roadshow, and I had to make an image up from that, and here we are. This is us going through it, and as you say, there are such minute details that we were able to tweak. The shape of the nose, the nostrils, the eye colour, so anything that we wanted to change, we could do. And we came up with a final image, which is here. This is what I came up with, and we are going to see in a moment Sam, who is our crew member. Let's have a look. I think that's pretty good, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, for the time that we had about 20 minutes. We were kind of going through it rather quickly. I think you've done really well with that. This would normally be used for a person who's not known before. So the composite would be made up just by that person. You know?
But I think we did well.
Yeah,
I think I did a good job there. Fascinating insight. Thank you, Steve, for joining us. Sian.
And well done, Rav. Now, one of the ways that the LifeWise Centre helps people is by giving advice about postal scams. And 86-year-old Ivy received thousands of letters like these through the post. She posted off her whole life savings to the scammers.
Well, they told me that I'd won something, and I was on the high. I was going higher and higher with the amount of money I was going to get, and you know what I mean. It just went straight to my head, I think.
Well, Ivy's daughter Janice was absolutely shocked by the demands in these letters.
Just evil, just pure evil. I don't know how they can do it. They know what they're doing. They obviously know. But, you know, even if you write them letters and explain that the person you're doing it to is very ill, they don't care, they still carry on.
Well, Andy, these are just some of the thousands of letters that Ivy received, and many of them were from abroad, weren't they?
Absolutely. The majority that we see on this table here are from Australia and America, which Ivy received through the post.
Why do you think, then, elderly people do respond to letters like these? I mean, what's so tempting about them?
Well, these organised criminals, they send these letters out, for instance, such as that with urgent, 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 payout activation request, you have done it, customer guarantee. They all look so convincing. They make these vulnerable people believe that they've won money.
Indeed. But you've been able to help Ivy.
Yes, we have. Working with a lot of partner agencies, we've implemented some steps. We've redirected Ivy's mail, so she no longer gets any letters. We put in a device which blocks unknown numbers because Ivy was receiving calls from Australia saying that she'd won a suitcase full of money and they're on the way.
And in a line, the advice to people watching.
Absolutely. If you ever get a letter similar to this that says you have won, just tear it up, don't open it, throw it in the bin. It's not true.
Absolutely, just chuck it away. Good advice.
Now, we all love a bit of Christmas shopping, don't we? But one Sheffield woman's December trip to the city centre ended up being far from festive.
A week before Christmas, and the streets of Sheffield city centre were packed with shoppers.
I went into the centre of Sheffield and did some shopping.
Anne was busy buying presents for her family and friends. With little time left before Christmas, she spent the afternoon browsing around the city's many stores. Then, at 20 to 4, she headed back to the Sylvester Street car park and her pride and joy, the black Toyota Corolla she'd only just bought.
Remarkably, there weren't any people about in the car park. The week before Christmas, you would imagine there would be plenty of people about.
But there were two men loitering at the edge of the car park, and they were watching Anne's every move.
I got back to the car. I put all the bags and baggages in the bag. I got into the car, the door opened and a guy jumped in. My first reaction was, oh gosh, it's the car park attendant giving me a ticket, but then I saw the gun. I was just shocked, having looked at the gun. I looked away and I never looked back at it.
And with his partner in crime covering the other side of the car, Anne was trapped. Then her new passenger told her what he wanted.
He said, I'm not going to hurt you, but I want your gold. And he pointed the gun at my wedding ring.
But there was a problem.
It's been there such a long time that I couldn't get it off.
The attacker became impatient.
And he said, is it sentimental? I said, well, yes, of course, it's my wedding ring.
Right, leave it then. Amazingly, the man changed his mind about Anne's precious ring, but he had a bigger prize in mind.
Come on, get out of the car.
As Anne climbed out, the lookout jumped into the back and the armed man took over the driving seat.
I was appalled that he was going to take my new car. And I opened the door again and said to him, you're not going to take my car, are you? I was really indignant. I said, you can take everything else, but leave my car. And he said, we've got to. And he just slammed the door and off they went.
Thankfully, Anne wasn't hurt, but the ordeal has left her shaken.
I'm a reasonably strong person. I don't scare easily, but it was scary. It was scary.
This isn't a normal occurrence in Sheffield, and it's isolated, and it's something that's stirred a lot of interest, you know, because here we have a 71-year-old lady Christmas shopping and being held at gunpoint, which isn't something that the police in Sheffield are used to.
It's made me quite wary. I tend to lock my car when I get in now. It's breathtaking. It's with you and it doesn't go. It still stays with you.
And DI Richard Partridge joins me now. Richard, what do you know about these two men?
Well, we know both men were white. Particular emphasis on the man that got in the car and pointed the gun at Anne. White man, slim build, fairly tall, wearing a high visibility jacket, black woolly hat and a scarf covering part of his face, and spoke with a local accent.
Now, it was the middle of the day. People were out Christmas shopping. I mean, do you think anybody saw this?
We hope so. It was a busy day. The car park was busy, we understand. Particularly want to locate a man wearing a grey suit who passed the car when Anne had the gun pointed at her.
OK, now, the car was taken, Anne's car, she watched it being driven off there. I mean, that's important. It could bring some clues, couldn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a black Toyota Corolla, NT06HKG. We know it was taken from the charity car park, and we know that ultimately it was found at Padley Way 2 days later in the Firth Park area of Sheffield. OK,
well, tell us how is Anne now, because she went through an ordeal for that to happen, and I know that the police have said they're not used to something like this happening.
No, it's unusual. Anne was incredibly brave, and she's recovering well. Clearly really shocked and traumatised at the time of the offence taking place, though.
Absolutely. I know that she's been getting some support, and we really do wish you well with this investigation. If you can help with this, please do get in touch on our usual numbers.
Time for a quick update for you now. We've actually had some great calls coming through about the classic car ram raid caught on CCTV, where the thieves made off with a £120,000 Ford Escort Mexico. That was on yesterday's programme, so thank you for that. We've also had a possible sighting of yesterday's wanted face, Omar Ajmal. You'll remember he's wanted by the Met Police for supplying cannabis, so do keep those calls, texts and emails coming in. That's it for the week. Sian, where are you going to be on Monday?
Rav, we are going to be heading south. We're going to be with the Met Police at their specialist driving school, finding out how you keep safe on two wheels and how they use riding side saddle as one of their training techniques for their elite motorcycle squad through the streets of London. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Sian. For more details about the crimes on today's programme, head to our website. But finally, we're going to leave you with another look at the wanted faces. There they are. Somebody out there knows where these people are. If you're that person, then call us. Thanks for watching. Until next week, take care. Bye-bye.